going to go. Oh, there we go. And we are live. A warm, warm welcome, or I guess chilly welcome, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. My name is Nema Remba, and I am a program manager here at Spring, and will be your host today for the Invest Together in Women Led Impact founder info session, where we will delve into everything about this program. We will be hearing from or from one of our most recent winners, a little bit more on her journey, a little bit more on her experience with the Invest Together in Women Led Impact, previously the Women Led Impact Investor Challenge. And so, before I get into this and the meat of things, I want to quickly walk you through our little agenda here. So, a quick agenda for today, because I like to keep things short and sweet, because I know y'all are booked and busy, and we want to get you back to your job, back to your families, and or maybe your afternoon cocktails to chase the midweek blues away. So, I'll be starting with our welcome and our short preliminary program overview, covering the general approach to the program, and then we will then have an interlude to hear from our guest speaker today, followed by a Q&A from you, the audience, for any questions that you may have for Sydney. And then finally, I'll go into the second part of the program overview that'll do a bit of a deeper dive on the ideal applicant profile and some key things to consider before you apply. This portion is marked as optional, as this information is also covered in the founder program pack. I know. How efficient of us. We stand efficiency out here. And so, a quick program overview. So, women founders in Canada are vastly, vastly underestimated and underfunded, receiving only 2.3% of venture capital funding, according to a recent report. And so, you know that it is about time, actually beyond time, for women and non-binary founders to get equal investment into their startup. And so with this in mind, the Women-Led Impact Investor Challenge, now called the Invest Together in Women-Led Impact Program, was created as a value-packed program empowering purpose-driven founders to prepare their impact businesses for investment from like-minded, supportive impact investors. Because it's important to be where the money resides, but you also want to be the money to be good money. And so with that, Spring has thoughtfully designed a program that addresses the unique challenges women founders face as they raise funds. The selected top 15 founders eventually will join also a cohort of impact investors, and they will receive tailored support and selected for 100,000, or rather up to 100,000 in investment, and of course creating valuable connections from the Spring community in the country, in the collaborative, and of course having a mutually supportive environment. And so a quick look on what you can expect from the program. Looking at the program format, we typically receive around 80 plus applications from founders, with our last program attracting actually over 120 applicants. These then get narrowed down to the top 15 companies by our selection committee, then further distilled into 5 finalists by the investors participating in the program. The program will also include 20 to 25 investors who pre-commit to our investment pool of about 100,000 or more. And these investors will also walk through weekly sessions alongside the founders, and they will be the ones responsible for conducting the due diligence into these top companies. The program itself will consist of 9 weekly sessions that will do that distilling from top 15 to top 5, and finally to a winner. All this, like I said, will involve action-oriented content with impact investing leaders in Canada, research and networking opportunities, and so much more. In the end, this culminates in one direct investment, but of course, many, many winners. And in case you're wondering what I mean by many winners, stay tuned, more on that shortly. And so then, without further ado, to the meat of the session today. Today we are going to be joined by our knowledgeable guest and previous Women-Led Impact Investor Challenge winner, now Invest Together in Women-Led Impact, Sydney Robinson, the co-founder and CEO of Vessel. Vessel is pioneering novel prosthetics for amputees, led by biomedical engineers, clinical anatomists, and prosthetists. The first product, Isoform, is an automatically adjusting socket that empowers amputees through improved comfort. Yes, automatically adjusting. Sydney herself is an engineer and innovator on a mission to transform prosthetics. With degrees in mechanical and biomedical engineering, Sydney discovered the need for better prosthetic socket fit during her medical innovation fellowship, which is where she also met her co founder. Now, as the CEO of Vessel, she's committed to designing solutions by centering the experiences and needs of real users at every step. Join us today as Sydney shares her journey and how Vessel is reshaping the future of prosthetics. Welcome, Sydney.
Thank you so much, Nema. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. As I was reading that spiel, because of course, like I put together that bio, but like reading it a second time, I'm like, oh my gosh, impressive. I'm so glad we have
Thank you.
today. I'm so glad that we have her here today. And so I do have like a couple of 4 or 5 questions for you, and like in the interest of time, I'll dig right into it, as I'm sure
Awesome.
the folks at home also really want to hear a little bit more about you. So first question, let's start light. Tell us a little bit about you, your company, and what you've been up to since you won the IIC, now Invest Together. Granted, it was like 2 seconds ago, but paint us a picture.
It's been a busy 2 seconds, I'll have to say, Nema. So, honestly, you did such a great job of my intro. I'm going to skip over myself and the company. You've done such a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
So, in the interest of time, I'd love to kind of touch on where we've come since IIC. We've really focused on the product itself, and so we are a pre-revenue company. Focusing on the product is top of mind for us to get it to that next stage where we can begin sales. And so we actually had our patent granted recently in the United States, which is where our first sales are going to be. So that's a huge step in protecting what we've developed. The other area of focus for us has been user feedback. So as our investors know, the first amputee to ever try our socket tried it on July 31st of this year, which was absolutely thrilling. One of those core memories I will take with me for the rest of my life from this company of like, we did it. Someone's wearing it. Someone's actually using the device, which was just so thrilling. So that user feedback has continued. We've really been working closely with Stevie Crawford, who is that amputee who's been wearing our socket, to get some feedback, finalize that design. And he actually came with us last week. So he's in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
We went to a conference in New Jersey, and he came with us as our patient model and was there while we had a booth and answered questions. And it was just such a fantastic experience.
That sounds absolutely phenomenal. You have been busy in that 2 seconds, so that's really great to see. And like, I hope the founders at home are taking notes in terms of like, yeah, it's really important to like have that user feedback, center the user. And I love this idea of like the live demo and you being able to go to New Jersey with this person and show essentially what your product does. That is amazing. So thank you so much for that update. And so then, looking at Vessel, like your journey, different programs that you've done, what influenced you to join the women-led Invest Together?
For me, it was the two facts in the title itself of impact and women led. And so for me, what that means is as a woman led company, we are underserved when it comes to investment. And so I was really keen to make sure that we had well aligned investors that wanted to support female founders and kind of raise us up. I find that the folks that do support women led companies are very passionate about what they do and really want to help raise us up, whether that's just with their capital or also with kind of the connections that they can make and guidance they can provide. And then on top of that, as I mentioned, the impact side of things. So for us, it was working with people that really saw the impact that we were going to have on the amputee community and wider community at large. That was so exciting.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. One thing that did jump out at me was the well aligned investors. And I think that's something I said earlier on. Like, yes, you want to be where the money reside, but you also want it to kind of be quote unquote like good money that, like, is aligned with your vision, with the mission, what you're trying to do. And I definitely agree. We see a lot of folks who in this program who do very much champion the work of women-led ventures, and are very passionate about it, which I think brings in also that other element that you shared, that like sometimes it's not just always with your dollars, right? Like that support can look like many things. It can be like, access to your networks. Sometimes it's also like, expertise and all that. I guess like one-stop shop, I would imagine, like even with the investors you met, that was a very varied cohort. Networks, connections, support that can go in multiple ways. And so that actually brings me to my next question. In reflecting on your experience in the program, what would you say were key highlights for you?
For me, what was, because you had mentioned like different accelerators as well. And I would say this was what stood out to me in terms of my experience, but also my experience when comparing to other programs that we did, which is just being able to work with a due diligence team. I thought that was really unique and super exciting. So we had, as you had said, a really varied level of skill sets and backgrounds, very different, diverse backgrounds, both in terms of careers and lived experience that were on our due diligence team. And so it was interesting to see what kinds of questions the investors were asking, what areas of the business maybe weren't as clear, and so how we could improve that story for next time. And honestly, everyone just asked so many great questions that were very much like lift you up questions, not like I'm trying to poke holes in your company, but I really want to understand your company, which has a very different feel to it, which I loved.
I totally agree. There is something about like the lift you up questions. And I imagine like, you've been in various programs, you've also probably pitched for like 100 times at this point, but like you can't tell that difference between somebody like when they're asking a question from the point of view like, I see what you're doing, I want you to do better, so I want to strengthen you, versus someone who just like wants to ask questions to like bring you down and like poke holes in everything. And that's definitely like a trend I've seen with investors in this program. They really do want to build you up and are committed to like the journey with you in the program and even beyond. And so of course you are the winner. Congratulations. And you
Thank you.
walked away from the IIC with equity investment from investors in the cohort. And so I guess one thing that folks are usually curious about is how do you interact with the investors after the program? What has that looked like for you? Do you have any plans?
Yeah, so this is actually something I'm going to be focusing on a lot more in the future as well. But what we're doing right now is we have regular investor update emails. We send them out once a month or once a quarter, and people have been super responsive to that, which is great. It keeps people in the loop, which I'm always surprised at how many people actually read them, which is awesome. But one of the things that blew me away specifically about the Spring community was the number of investors, because it's a special purpose vehicle. So it wasn't just all the investors in my due diligence team, it was everybody. So there were a lot of people who I hadn't had the opportunity to truly connect with or build a relationship with, but a lot of people reached out like on LinkedIn or via email, and they were like, hey, I'm one of your investors through Spring, this is my background, please tell me how I can help. And I've had several meetings with individuals who introduced themselves wanting to help us, wanting to lend their expertise, and I've gotten guidance on like financial projections, I've gotten guidance on building a team, corporate structure, all kinds of things just from the people who are motivated to help keep our company moving forward.
Damn, that's so exciting. Every once in a while you're like, man, humanity, it's rough out here.
I know.
And then you see people who are like just like so committed to helping others and helping others make a change. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe humanity not so terrible. Maybe we don't need that flood.
It gives hope. It gives hope.
It definitely does give hope. And like seeing that people really just want to like champion you, that's amazing. I do love though that you have a regular cadence of like keeping people updated, because this time it's this round, might need people like for the next round. So definitely very important like to keep like plugged in and conversing with investors. I love that it was not just you going to them, but it was also like the flip side of them seeing what you do and them coming to you. That's amazing. I do believe that like, the program definitely gives visibility, provides a platform, but it's nice to see that there's folks in the community who are like, okay, I see you through this visibility, but I'm also now going to reach out to you. I'm gonna do my part as well. So that's amazing. And so then Just two more questions as like we wind up here. Looking back at the application period, is there anything you would recommend for applicants to do or showcase in their applications? Anything you feel like, lent itself well to you, maybe gave you a leg up by the time you got into the program?
Yeah, I would say that one of the things to really emphasize in the application would be impact. It's in the title of what the program is.
Yeah.
So really highlighting what that impact is that you plan to have and maybe how you're going to measure it, I think does set you apart. And the other, talking about set you apart, is your differentiator. Like what sets you apart in the market? What is it that you're doing that's so unique? We have such a key differentiator that's a part that I like to highlight, but I do think that it lends itself to a strong application. And then if there's ever an opportunity to do a video, I always find videos super, super powerful, whether that's part of the product side or even just introducing the team. You get a lot, as you can see when Nema and I are chatting, you get a lot of it, a much better feel for who the founder is and maybe what they're capable of doing when you can see them talk and you can see the passion. So I find that videos also really help set you apart.
That is amazing. Major keys there for all you in the audience. Like, yeah, you already see. I see you have a question here popped. I mean, I knew it, but like, feel free to tell the people. How much did you end up raising through the program and Spring community?
So the Spring community actually increased. So the prize was, I think, 150,000 Canadian, and we ended up increasing it to almost 250. So it was, a combination of people within the Spring community increasing their investment, but then also sharing that special purpose vehicle opportunity with some other angels that we had chatted with but couldn't meet what our minimum requirement was. So we were able to increase the amount that came from Spring. Still finalizing the final amount of money that we will have raised as part of this round. It was certainly a rolling close throughout this back half of the year, but we're getting very close. So stay tuned, I guess I would say.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. And so like that's typically kind of how it is. We have a starting point for what the investment looks like. And so the investment can like add over time. I think having the SPV is definitely like one of those unique value adds, such that you have like various investors able to participate in supporting the winning venture, or anyone else who's also able to draw an investment. And so then the last question I have here, well, second last, looking back at the actual program, what would you recommend to the participants to be able to get the most out of the program? So now they've submitted the application, they're in, like now we're in it. How does someone optimize their time?
Yeah, so I would say that there is certainly a period where the Spring leadership says, don't reach out to all of the investors. You're going to inundate them with too many messages. Like, don't bother them yet. You will get a chance to work with them in the due diligence process. So certainly not at that time. But I do think that reaching out to all of the speakers and reaching out to the investors when you're allowed to do so, that makes a massive impact. I built a lot of strong relationships just by reaching out to people who I happen to be in a program with. And you'd be shocked, or maybe you wouldn't be so shocked, but these people are signing up to support young companies, and they are really excited with the opportunity to continue to do that during the program and outside the program. So I would say look through the list of speakers and investors, see people that might be closely aligned with what you're doing, and then just reach out for some general guidance. People are always very willing to help.
Okay, fabulous. I've done various versions of this, and this is actually the first time that I'm hearing that tidbit of information. So we live and we learn every time. Every day is a learning day. I see one more question here that has come. How has winning impacted your business so far?
Yeah, so I would say two things. It lends a lot of credibility to the business when you can say that you were one of the ones that won in such a competitive environment. So credibility being one. The other that I didn't get to mention when I was talking about kind of regular investor updates and things like that, is that they also, Spring that is, and the due diligence team that you're with writes a due diligence memo. And the nice thing about a due diligence memo is, again, it lends that credibility, but it really leverages that credibility within a funding round. So we were able to share that due diligence memo with other investment groups. And what it did was it either expedited the process so that it didn't take as long with other angel networks for investment, or it actually kind of not convinced, but encouraged some people to invest because they saw the level of work that Spring went through to actually learn about the company and make their recommendation. And that really goes a long way.
Oh, well, see, efficiency all around, efficiency all around. Last one here, and I think you can kind of pair it with your parting shot. Someone here wants to know what you'd say to other women who are considering starting their own businesses but might be hesitant.
Yes, we're all hesitant, and that's normal and that's fair. And you should be, because this is really a lot of work and there are crazy ups and crazy downs. I have learned a lot in the past little bit about acknowledging your emotions and making sure that you're okay with those emotions. So, like, hesitancy is allowed to come along for the ride, but don't let that stop you from doing something truly incredible, because I think we all have so much to lend to the world and so many amazing ideas that people haven't thought of yet. And your passion can do so much more than you ever realized that it could. So if you have the opportunity to start something, I think it's always worth a shot. It's been the most incredible opportunity in my entire life to start this company. It has not been without its ups and downs, but at the end of the day, has been the most incredible opportunity, and I would certainly recommend it if you're thinking about it. Just find the right community that can support you. Is
Yeah.
honestly my biggest piece of advice.
I see what you're saying. I think my biggest takeaway there was like, yeah, don't let it get in the way of you doing something incredible. I'm gonna take that as the parting shot, unless you wanna add something else. But that was, I feel like
Feels good.
that's as parting shorty as a parting shot gets.
Feels good to me. Feels good. I feel like I've said my piece.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to hop into like some other information on the program.
Awesome.
However,
Thank you, Nama.
folks, follow Vessel, look into what they're doing to support prosthetics and that industry and amputees. And then feel free to also connect with Sydney. As you can see, she is super personable and is definitely, looking to expand networks, users, investors, all the above. And so now for this little next part, I'm just going to go by it fairly quickly. It's just a couple of additional key insights that you might need as you prepare to apply. And so I'll just look briefly at the participant journey, some key upcoming dates, the investment overview, and then I'll quickly lightning round through some frequently asked questions that we get from founder applicants. As I mentioned, all this information is also available in the founder program pack. And so looking at the journey, this cute little graphic quickly walks you through what we imagine the next few months looking like. So of course, right now we are in the application period up until December 13th. And then in January, participant selection will happen. February through to April, we'll go through the program, the training, the due diligence. And then finally, we'll have a pitch finale where the winner will be selected and the pooled investment will be made, having started at top 15, distilling to a top 5, and finally a winner walking away with up to 100,000 or more in equity funding. Some key dates, like I mentioned, December 13th, that is the founder application deadline. January, that says January, it was supposed to be January 9th, so the top 15 will be selected and notified. February 5th, the program starts. February 12th, the founders are able to meet with investors and then continue the journey together. And then March 6th, the top 5 finalists will be selected, and then they will do the due diligence process up until the winner at the finale in April. And so the key thing that people always like, oh, what does an ideal what does an ideal applicant look like? And so insofar as impact, we're usually looking at environmental and or social impact driven businesses. If there is like an impact lens on your company, come see us. Looking at stage, we're usually looking at pre-seed to seed for this program. And then team, of course, a team that has a strong commitment to diversity, as demonstrated, of course, within their leadership and within their team structure. And then potential for scale, you're looking to raise anywhere between 250K to 5 million on average is what we see. And then, of course, there is evidence of market demand and potential for widespread adoption. That definitely gives you a leg up. Insofar as the investment overview, another question that comes up a lot. So at the end of the program, it'll be up to 100,000 invested into one winning company. As we heard from Sydney, it can definitely be more as investors come into the to the special purpose vehicle. Again, the investment is made through the special purpose vehicle, and that'll be created and funded. That'll be created by Spring and funded. The special purpose vehicle, in case you want to learn more, feel free to Google that or email us, and we'll be able to give additional information insofar as how we set this up and how this is run. The terms are usually set on an individual company basis, and Spring does not carry on the investment. The SPV itself, so the special purpose vehicle, will withhold 5,000, and this is for a lifetime of corporate expenses. And then Spring as well invoices the winning company 3% of the total investment amount as a program and learning fee. Finally, there's also an opportunity for co-investment pending due diligence by the BDC Thrive Lab, for which Spring is a co-investment partner. And then onto these frequently asked questions. Again, lightning round, just to get through them. I hope it provides some insights that are valuable to you. And so one question: who from the company is eligible to participate? Is it just the founder, or can another employee or advisor join? So for weekly sessions, more than one team member can join. However, the CEO or the person who is most involved in raising capital needs to participate in all of the sessions. Because this is a women-led program, this would also be a woman or non-binary identifying leader or leaders within the company. What are the approximate terms of the investment for the winning company? How much equity are the angels seeking for the investment? So like I said, terms are usually set on an individual basis. The founder defines the terms and are not restricted to equity, so we can facilitate debt instruments, safes, convertible notes, etc. Have any of the other finalists who didn't win still receive investment after the challenge? This is such a great question. And you remember when I said, yes, there's many winners. This is where the many winners comes in. I did tell you to stay tuned. So yes, some winners in the past have. So for example, Skyacres Agrotech, they were a finalist in our Angels for Climate Solutions program in 2022, and they indirectly raised 750K for their first round coming out of the program. They also got publicity in the Vantech Journal for making it as a finalist, and were reached out to by an analyst at a prominent VC firm. Most recently, one of our other finalists in the Summer Women-Led program also raised over 100,000 from investors in the cohort and the Spring Collective, our Impact Angel network. And so that you can see, while you might not maybe necessarily be the winner like Sydney was, there still, of course, is very many perks that come with participating. Some of them are money, but like Sydney shared, there is other benefits to participating in the program that can not be as quantified, but still have a magnitude of impact in your business. And then the other question is, will investors take an active role as partners, or will they be more passive or silent partners? So all investors in the SPV should get quarterly reporting and are consulted on future rounds. However, interactions with investors depend on the relationship that you have built with them throughout the program. And so some can take a mentor role, others would amplify their reach through their networks, etc. And I think Sydney did a very good job of showcasing that. And then the other question we have: does evidence of pre-orders or quantifiable interest in the product count as traction? This is on a case-by-case basis. The stipulation is that the ventures need to be pre-seed to seed stage. We are cognizant that depending on the sector that you're coming from, there are ventures that are at this stage but are not yet revenue generating. So as such, would still definitely encourage you to apply. Still looking at revenue, is there a specific amount or revenue threshold required for companies to apply? And the short answer is no. So we've had pre-revenue companies participate, and we have and they have kind of used this program to kickstart major milestones, whether it's being, around, or whether it's commercialization. And so depending on the sector, traction can look like different things, and revenue is not the only indicator that we'll be reviewing, but also, potential for widespread uptake, evidence of market demand, existing pilots, among, other important items. And so what are the program costs? They are no fees to participate in the program. So while the program itself is valued at 3,199. There are no fees to participate in the program. However, any of the finalists who do receive investment from the investor program participants, program alumni, or the Spring Investing Collective will be invoiced 3% of their total investment amount. And this is an administrative fee that just helps cover the transaction costs. And then the last bit here, what should I have prepared before I apply? So at the very least, have a detailed description of your mission and your impact statement. Be able to define or articulate, the problem your business is solving for, how and for who. Be able to articulate what UN Sustainable Development Goals your business falls under, the status of your fundraising to date and future goals, and of course, a pitch deck or a company presentation. We got an interesting insight from Sydney, who was like, you know what, like if you can find a way to put in a video, do use a video. And I think that is like super vital insofar as like, complementing your pitch deck or your pitch presentation. And so we understand that not everybody might be there yet. So you might need a little bit of help getting ready to apply for Invest Together in Women-Led Impact. And so bearing that in mind, we do have like two options to help you getting there. So there is the option to do one-on-one mentorship through Raise and Rise. And this can help you work through challenges for your business and see how you can put your best foot forward in your application and participation. This is bespoke. And so you're able to meet with an advisor and get ready on a one-on-one basis. However, if you do need this support, do sign up ASAP as spots are limited. We only have 20 spots available and 50% of those have already been taken up. And then the other option you have is, getting investment ready through WinVC Essentials in Right Fit Capital. This one will give you resources and content to help you get things situated. So could it your data room, your financial focus, your impact, your pitch decks. It's a self-paced program. You can go through the content, look at what applies to you, and help use that content and those resources to be ready to apply to Invest Together in Women-Led Impact. And so with that in mind, I come to the end of our info session here. 5 minutes over, although I did try to cover everything. Like I said, we do have a lot of this information in our founder program pack. So please feel free to consult that or reach out to me at nema@spring.is if you have any questions between now and December 13th. Like I said, the deadline to submit your application is December 13th. However, we'll be reviewing them on a rolling basis. So the sooner you get your application in, the better. We look forward to receiving your applications, and we look forward to working with you in this journey, whether in the Invest Together in Women-Led Impact program or some of our other program, or out in these streets as we support women-led ventures. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day ahead.